But the thing that the Sopranos did way better than anybody else, and I'm going to talk about it here in the overall story segment, but the thing that it did better than anybody else is show people for what they actually are. Complex creatures, right? And they do this beautifully with all of the characters to a pretty decent extent, right? But look, the buck begins and ends with Tony Soprano himself. He's such a complex character because as the show goes on, let's do what we came to do, man. We came to get it on, man. Greatest show of all time. Let's get it popping, man. So we, of course, like I mentioned at the top of this convo, that we've got the greatest show of all time tournament, and this week we have two stalwarts in terms of it's hard to have any sort of list of greatest show of all time without these two shows on said list. And so what am I talking about? Of course, I'm talking about The Sopranos versus Breaking Bad, two of the most infamous shows when it comes to their two leading men. You have in one corner Tony Soprano, and the other you have Walter White. And we're going to chop it up about it here shortly, but yeah, just two fucking giants in the annals of television history. So yeah, man. So as we always do, man, we're going to have 4 different sections that we're going to chop it up about. We are going to talk about the acting involved, as well as the character development, the overall story, and then wrap it up with a wild card segment, or I guess a category. But I think Rain has decided today for the wild card, we're going to do the best dad of both Walter White and Tony Soprano. So without further ado, man, let's get it rocking. Let's see. Do you want to go first, or would you like for me to go first, or should we flip a coin? Let's flip a coin. I feel like
let's flip a coin.
All right, let's flip this coin real quick. Let's see. All right, here we go. We're flipping. Okay, we should probably call it out though, right? So heads, Arain goes first. Tails, Tunde goes first. I did this last time, and that was like stupid, right? Because then, literally, no matter how it turns out, let's say heads goes first, tails goes.
Just heads goes first. Heads goes first. Yeah.
All right, I'll let you call it in the air.
All right.
Although I still think this is kind of stupid.
Yeah. No. Listen.
I'm fucking.
Heads goes first. Yeah. Heads goes first. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with heads.
Heads. Or okay. Yeah, it's heads. So yeah, you go first. We did that. We fucked that up.
Super complicated.
All right. So yeah, man. You have precisely 2 minutes on the clock. The bell will ring you in and ring you out. We are going to start with the first category of acting. My friend, take it away.
All right. So for the show Breaking Bad, we have a absolutely stellar cast. I'm just going to go through just a few. So we have Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus Fring, like one of the most calmly diabolical like TV show villains that like you've ever come across. And part of the reason why you love the show so much is because of his character, Gus Fring. He's this like drug kingpin madman who is just so calm and so tactical, and so he just has like that eerie vibe that you just love. So much so that you love even though you know he's a bad guy, you love when he dies, which is very difficult to do. It's very complex emotion. Bob Odenkirk, who went on to have his own show, Better Call Saul. We've got Dean Harris, Anna Gunn, who plays Skylar White, absolutely stellar actress. But let's get to the two big dogs, right? Aaron Paul, who plays Jesse Pinkman. Very interesting thing about his character in the show, he was originally only written in for like 2 or 3 episodes, like throughout season 1, but he his acting was so stellar that they wrote him in throughout the entirety of the show. And again, big dogs, right? Bryan Cranston, who plays Walter White. His acting was so stellar that you kind of separate his two characters, Walter White from Heisenberg. You can look at these two guys very differently, and he played both of those characters extremely well. So much so that, when people dress up on Halloween, right? Like, you never see Halloween costumes of Tony Soprano, but you see people dress up like Walter White. You see people dress up like Heisenberg, and that's because Bryan Cranston managed to do some absolutely stellar performances playing both characters and bringing both of those characters to life.
All right.
Was that right on clock?
5 seconds short, but
okay, good enough.
Good enough. Okay. Well done, my good sir. All right. Look, when we talk about acting in a series, sure, we can go run through the name. Just like you ran through the name of all the people on your list, I can certainly run through mine. Look, we have Lorraine Bracco. She, of course, is notorious for her role in the movie Goodfellas. She plays alongside Ray Liotta as his wife. Steve Buscemi is in The Sopranos. Edie Falco. She went on to do Nurse Jackie, which lasted I think about 5 or 6 years itself. So that speaks to her acting chops as well. But then you have other dudes that are kind of less noted, but important nonetheless, like Joe Pantoliano. Those might everybody's familiar with him. One of the more famous roles that he has was as Cypher off of The Matrix, and then you just have a slew of guest appearances on the show. So you have Frank Sinatra Jr., you have Lady Gaga, Michael K. Williams, Will Arnett, Paul Dano, Annette Bening. The list goes on, right? But let's get to what we came here for, which is James Gandolfini. I don't know. I'm at a loss for what I can say about the dude. 56 nominations as far as awards that he's been up for. 19 wins. His resume speaks for itself with just The Sopranos alone. But look, I want to finish this up by saying there was a blurb about a particular episode that he did. I feel like summarizes things with Tony Soprano well enough. This is about the episode Unidentified Black Males. Watching a character go through a panic attack feels so real, but it's completely faked. Is the product of the incredible acting ability. His ability to show the tender source of destructive tendencies incredible, and it gets to what the heart of Tony Soprano is, a person, and he makes him feel all that much more real. And also, David Chase also said he could turn. There we go. All right. And that he could turn a dime from concern to rage to be really scary rage.
Are you taking some extra time here?
I had to finish the line. Okay, it was one line.
What? No. Listen, I urge the members of the jury to disregard those last few seconds of Tunde's testimony. That is a clear violation of the laws of this game.
I'll edit it out. I won't edit it out. Don't worry, guys. You know what to do.
You got to mute yourself.
All right, fair enough.
You should be thrown out just for that incident. I should be given the first round victory just for violation of the laws that we've created here.
You wish it was that easy. All right, we're heading on to character development, which is our second category. You got 2 minutes on the clock, starting now, my friend.
So for character development, I mean, we've got a lot of characters that went through a huge journey throughout the course of the show. Dean Harris, who plays Hank Schrader, his character evolves so much throughout the course of the show, going from this good to do cop, this cop who wants to do the right thing, to learning out that his friends are really his enemies. The people that he trusts the most are the people who betrayed him the most, and all of the things that happened there. Anna Gunn goes from being just this mom who wants to take care of her family and provide for her children, to being the wife of this drug kingpin, to kind of branching out on her own and doing her own thing and becoming a boss in her own rights. But in terms of the character who I developed the most, it's a toss-up between Aaron Paul, who played Jesse Pinkman, and Bryan Cranston, who played Walter White. Again, Aaron Paul's character was really only supposed to last a few episodes in season 1. His character was continued throughout the course of the entire series because his acting was that good. And we see Jesse Pinkman go from being this high school dropout kid to being this chemist, this drug kingpin, to relapsing on his drug addiction when he loses his girlfriend. The range of emotions that Jesse Pinkman's character goes through throughout the course of this series is like absolutely stunning. And then Bryan Cranston, again, he managed to play two different characters throughout the course of the show and did both of them very well. Walter White starts off as just his father who wants to do something positive for his kids and leave something for his kids when he dies of cancer. So he begins doing what he knows best, chemistry, right? Making meth. But then you see him develop into that, right? You see him develop into Heisenberg and being this like overlord, this like this ruthless man to fear, and one who's to be revered in the drug industry, right? And he's trying to balance all of those things. He's trying to balance husband and father and balance being a drug kingpin, which is a very difficult thing to do for any actor to play two characters, both with very real emotions and storylines, as amazing as Bryan Cranston did it. I don't think, as much as I admire Tony Soprano, I don't think that character managed to do what Walter White and Heisenberg did in this series.
How dare you talk about overtime, my dude? You went like a full minute over. How
did I? I didn't hear the bell.
I just rang it. You were talking so much, you didn't hear the bell. And
yikes.
Also the thing that the alarm on my phone was going off too. Jesus,
really? I didn't hear. Why didn't I hear any of that?
It beats the hell out of me. I'll ring it again. You hear that?
Now I hear it. Yeah, that was super loud.
Yeah, because you're talking so much that you. Well, you know what? It might have been. It might have been the computer maybe shutting it off for you because of the.
Yeah, because I think as I'm talking, I can't hear any audio from your side. So that's my fault. I'll Members of the jury, I reinstate Tunde's original statements from round one. You are allowed to hear that testimony and take it into consideration as you can do with mine. My bad. I didn't hear that. So you're gonna have to give me. You're gonna have to give me like a thumbs up or something like that when.
I gotta do a little hand.
Give me a signal.
Hand gesture, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's dive into this. Hold on one second. Let me set this up. Okay, let's dive into this real quick. All right. So we're talking about character development, right? You're talking about the change from the character, change of a character from whatever length of time, from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, from one episode to to the end of an episode. Look. All of the characters in some way, shape, or form change over the course of the show. But the thing that the Sopranos did way better than anybody else, and I'm going to talk about it here in the overall story segment, but the thing that it did better than anybody else is show people for what they actually are. Complex creatures, right? And they do this beautifully with all of the characters to a pretty decent extent, right? That you have Tony's wife, you got his kids, you got the various members of the the crime family, whatever you want to call them, right? As well as you have his like nephew, right, Chris, right? But look, the buck begins and ends with Tony Soprano himself. He's such a complex character because as the show goes on, it's starting to get revealed that there's really nothing underneath that exterior that Tony has. He's a dark character to start the show, and what you're hoping is through his therapy and all this other stuff that it's going to be uncovered that, oh man, you really actually care about people and you don't want to live this life and you're this way because of your mom and the way you sort of grew up. But what happens is the complete opposite, that it starts getting revealed that no, he is the dark fucking person that he's showing himself to be. His actions are him, and I think that set the tempo for everybody else in the show, not to mention just like the overall arc of the show. And I think that the biggest thing that you're looking for out of any character or any character development is to show them as authentically human. And that's what they did with Tony Soprano. They showed him as authentically human. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. Boom, right on time. All right.
Decent.
All right. And now we have the overall story segment. 2 minutes on the clock, starting now.
So when you think about the show Breaking Bad, right? Like the question you have to begin with is why? Like, why is any of this happening? Why are any of the characters doing what they're doing? Like, what is the reason for telling this story? I think Breaking Bad's why, it's a very simple one, but it's also a great one, right? It is, what does someone do when they're in a situation where they're faced with their own mortality, right? And and throughout the course of their life, they've not yet achieved their goals, and they're living in this fear of like not having anything to pass on to their children. That is Walter White's why. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he knew that throughout the course of his life, all he'd accomplished was being I believe it was a high school chemistry teacher, but he wanted more than that. But he knew that he didn't have more time. So he turned towards a life of drugs, right? And that is what Breaking Bad means, right? When you, for whether moral or immoral reasons, you turn towards a life of crime, right? So, he broke toward bad because he wanted to have something to leave his family and leave his children, which set off a course of those series of events that happened throughout the show. Now, what we saw throughout the show, though, is when you turn towards, the bad thing, right? When you turn towards crime or drugs or whatever it may be, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for them, right? And we find out throughout the course of this show that Walter White, at the end of the day, he was kind of doing it for himself. There were more selfish reasons here than just wanting to leave his wife and his children something. And I think that's what makes for a great show. It's you start off with the why, and you're giving a very clear why, but that why does not always remain the same. Just like with all people and any decisions that they make, right? Like the decision I make on Monday, maybe for one reason, but by Friday, that reason might change. Ran out of time.
Ran out of time. That is the story of you in this tournament, Ryan. You ran out of time.
Listen, MJ said it best, right? I never lost a game. I just ran out of time.
Oh, there you go.
Never lost a debate. I just ran out of time.
Doesn't that by default assume that you lost the debate if you...
Not really. If I had the time stone, not really.
Okay. Okay. Overall,
yeah, that's probably, sorry, I'm way off track here, but that's probably what I do with the time and reality stone, is just win every debate ever. Like, I could do more powerful things with it to change the world, but I just win every debate.
But that's just it, man. Oftentimes debates aren't won so much as because a debate would mean, like, what's winning in a debate? You just convince somebody of your argument. So you, like, unless you had like an audience to watch, which we luckily have, like, what's winning a debate really? Because if you don't change
when at the end of the debate, the other person says, you're right.
How many times has that actually happened in your life?
Many times for me. Most of the times for me.
I just got through a debate with you, a conversation in which no minds were changed. But anyways, I digress. All right, here we go. Overall story for The Sopranos coming at you. All right. So look, it's really easy to talk about the overall story with The Sopranos, right? So you have Tony Soprano, who is essentially at the beginning of the show, he's a capo for a crime family, and it slowly just kind of talks about like the overarching, like, I think he even begins the series by talking about, I think it feels like I came at the end, and that's kind of like the feeling throughout the entire show. It basically looks at like basically the demise, the irrelevance, I guess, of this sort of crime family. But that's not what the people came here for, right? The hallmark of any show is what its legacy is, and the legacy for The Sopranos cannot be argued no matter what the case. The reason why it must survive on this particular list is because it is the thing that created a majority of the other shows on this very list. If it weren't for The Sopranos, there wouldn't be Mad Men, there wouldn't be Breaking Bad, there wouldn't be all these shows with these anti-heroes, so to speak, right? There was pre-Sopranos, then there's post-Sopranos, right? In this golden age of television that we're talking about. Now, the reason why is because of just that I was saying before, the idea of this anti-hero, right? That if it weren't for Tony Soprano, there wouldn't be a Walter White, there wouldn't be a Don Draper, there wouldn't be a Vic Mackey, right? And also the show talks about a lot about morality and how morality is relative to the person. That's a hard thing to get into a series. And the more time you spend with Tony, the more you understand that this conversation's muddled. And that's great because we're human. So it's always muddled. But the thing I'll leave you with is saying that Sopranos created the perfect anti-hero, but the magic of it is that he's not actually an anti-hero. They make it so that he does such irredeemable things, unlike a Walter White, unlike a Don Draper, right? That you simply can't help but call him just a villain, and yet we root for him. What does that say about you? Tunes out. Ooh, I know you felt that. You felt that one too. You wanted to agree too. You're like, this is true.
Bold claim.
This is true.
If we didn't have Tony Soprano, we wouldn't have had Walter White.
It's undeniable. It's very literally a writer for The Sopranos went on to create Breaking Bad. Come on, man. I mean, not Breaking Bad. Mad Men. If it weren't for, it's undeniable. You talk. We can argue about this later.
One writer.
No. It's about
not the creator of the show, just the writer. He just got a new job. That's it.
No, look, it's different, right? If you're talking about just like a regular sort of protagonist, right? Like that's what we got all throughout the 80s, 90s, right? These protagonists that
listen, we're not going to sell your show anymore. Okay, look, we're not going to. I'm not going to give you an extra 2 minutes on the clock.
As Martin said once upon a time to Pam, I'll go back there and go to war with you, okay? All right? I'll go to war with you about this.
As Maxine Walters said, I'm reclaiming my time.
All right, let's move on to our final category of the night, and that is our wild card. Best dad. Who's the best dad out of Walter White, Tony Soprano? 2 minutes on the clock. Starting now, my friend.
So best dad, I think this is an easy one, to be honest, right? And it starts off in like the first episode of the show. And it goes back to the question that I asked in the beginning. It's like, why do these two men, Tony Soprano, Walter White, why are they doing what they're doing? Like, what is their purpose? What's driving them? What is their reason? Walter White's reason is very simple. It is he wants to leave something for his children and his family in his passing, right? He was recently diagnosed with cancer, and his clock is much shorter than he thought it was. And he realized that he had nothing to leave his family. So everything he does, every step he takes, every decision he makes is for to give his son a better life. It is to give his wife, a life to live in his absence. It is to give his daughter, a life to live in his absence. That is the reason he does everything he does. Now, down the road, I mean, he develops his own reasons, right? But at the very beginning, at his very core, he's doing it for family, nothing else. For family. He wants to leave his children with something, the things he didn't have. And that's what like every great father does, right? Is you try and give your children the life that you did not have. Clearly the best dad.
Fair enough. Are you done?
Yes.
All right. You got about like 30 seconds left. So I
didn't need it.
Stopping a little short. Okay. Well,
I didn't need it.
Fair enough. Look, I'm just going to point out. All right. And you can rebut mine if you like as well. I'll give you the time too. But come on, that's preposterous. For one, he literally admits at the end of the show, I did everything for myself. Like when I said I did it for everybody, lying through my goddamn teeth, I did it for myself because I fucking loved it. Irrefutable fact, but okay, if that's the line of logic.
I don't remember that episode. Yeah. I don't remember it. And neither do I urge the members of our jury to ignore that testimony.
Okay. All right. 2 minutes on the clock for me, starting now. Look, this is not an easy question because both Walter White and Tony Soprano are pretty shit when it comes to being a father, but the question isn't, are they good dads? Who's the best dad out of the both of them? That's the question, right? I would feel like both have arguments, but I feel like there's way more evidence for Tony Soprano being the better dad of the two. Not a good dad, just a better dad than Walter White. Why am I saying this? For one, you get a deep insight into Tony Soprano's upbringing. That you get an insight into his father was obviously in a crime family, and so that's not a great influence to lead you to relate to your kids. Also, his mom's a pathological liar, basically a sociopath on her own who made his life a living hell. In spite of all that, he still does what he does, or he tries to do what he does for his kids, right? He may not be doing it all for him, admittedly so, but enough of it, right, was done with the protection of his kids in mind. Now, he goes through a lot of trials and tribulations with his kids, but he does a lot of good things for his kids. Like, so for instance, when AJ tries to kill Junior because Junior was trying to kill Tony, right? And what he says to Junior in that case is like, look, dude, you're not cut out for this life. This life isn't for you. He's trying to protect his kid. Be real with this kid. Don't just follow blindly in my footsteps. I want a better life for you. So I'm going to tell you right now, this life ain't for you, man. You got to go find something better, something that is of you, right? But not only that, he very, very literally saves AJ's life, his son's life, right? What more do you want out of a father than to very literally save his child's life, right? And he saved him from drowning in a pool. He dives in head first, without maybe feet first, but with reckless abandon for his own body to save his own kid. What more could you want out of a father? Ladies and gentlemen, where's my case? Man,
bold statement there. You said I got to quote you. You were like, he did not all of it, but he did enough. Listen, great dads don't just do enough.
No,
they go to the end, to the very end.
I will remind you. I said he's not a good dad, just a better one than Walter White. Just a better one.
Yeah, listen, I'm not sold. I don't know about you, but I'm not sold. Okay, I'm not buying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and take pointers from you.
And neither are the members of the jury.
Yeah. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our debate about The Sopranos versus Breaking Bad, which is the better show. We presented some very contentious arguments for either side. Hoped you liked it, but even more than that, hope you'll vote. Let us know. We'll put this out on probably out on Instagram. Probably put a little poll out there. Go ahead and vote for that. Go to the Fade Podcast spheres and check it out and go vote for that. But yeah, man,